Sorry, I have muted. I believe now you could hear. Make flip-flop initializable. In the sense, in your design, you may be having a list of flip-flop, but the problem is you may not be having a possibility of initializing these flip-flop. Unless you initialize that to a known state, as I said, it is always tough to go for testing that particular sequential logic. So this is again another important thing. Avoid redundant gates. What do you mean by that? Sometimes you may be having, say, I have a digital function, say something like this: y equal to ab plus ac. So what I could do, if I start implementing this, I may be having this two AND gate, one OR gate. Instead, I can do like this. This will require the same function, but this require two AND gate, one OR gate. This require one OR gate and one AND gate. Now this is the optimized one, whereas this is not the optimized one, which means that you have some amount of redundancy in your network. So you are supposed to remove that redundancy. Else, what would happen if you have redundancy in your network? The redundancy lead to the scope for fault occurring. So make sure your network doesn't have the redundant. Next, avoid large fan-in gates. Generally, this is a thumb rule. So whenever you go for taking a logic gates, never go beyond 3 input, 4 input. Sometimes you may be having 4, 5, 6, but they are typically tough to control. With respect to controllability and observability, they are not at all preferred. Instead, you go in a chain of using couple of AND gate or NOR gate with having 2 to 3 fan-ins. Then provide test control for difficult to control signal. This point is still more, say something like this. Say I have a design. Okay. Now, in this you have, let me assume that you have an OR gate followed by one NAND gate, followed by one NOT gate, something like this, right? Or it could be still more, one more NAND gate. Now the point is, see, if you take this NAND gate, it is not being controlled from my primary input. So this is my A, this is my B, right? If that is the case, it is always difficult to control this particular gate. So while you think in a very complex network, you have some gate which is located at the center of that particular logic, which cannot be controlled, then what you can do, you can deliberately bring a line from the primary input to have a control on this gate. Say suppose I would like to make 1 for this line. So this particular line is enough to set this output line as 1. How? In an AND gate, you make one of your terminal 0, definitely the output is going to be 1. So these type of nodes, you call it as difficult to control nodes. There may be certain nodes in my logic which is difficult to control. For those type of nodes in your design, figure out them and have a separate control line which will facilitate the testing. That's all. What else? Avoid clocked gate or gated clocks. What does this mean, gated clocks? So what happens is, let's see, say suppose I am having one logic, something like this. This is my clock. This is my input. and this has been given to a D flip-flop. D flip-flop clock. So D flip-flop D value, Q value, right? So this is my D flip-flop. Now, this network is called gated clocks. What do you mean by this? Look at here. Generally, D flip-flop functionality, you know, whenever my clock have a positive transition, edge transition from 0 to 1, the data in the D will be copied to Q. For all the remaining time, it will simply follow or simply have the lost value it has captured. So for every clock transition from 0 to 1, that is positive edge triggering, it will copy the value of D to Q. Now, strictly speaking, what I should have done, this should be given to a clock directly. But what this circuit has been done here is, I have not given this clock directly to the flip-flop. Instead, this clock has been given to an AND gate and one more input has been added. This input can be a control line too. Control line too. The output of the AND gate has been given to D flip. Generally, this structure is called as a gated clock. Why do we require this sort of network? The point is very simple. The highest toggling signal in my system is the clock. Toggling signal in the sense, like it moves from 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So the clock is the signal which toggles to the maximum rate. Is if it toggles more, it consumes more power. Exactly. If it is consuming more power, then I need to think about having some strategy to reduce the power. So what I will do, I just think about reducing this clock or suppressing this clock whenever it is not being required. So what's the plan is, you make the input of the clock using a control line 0 or 1. If I make, it's not clear, audio not clear, what about the rest of the people?
Sir, it's clear, sir. Please continue, sir.
See, someone is saying audio is.
It's clear, sir. Very much
Same
clear.
problem exists.
No, it's
Sir,
clear.
it is clear.
Okay,
Sir.
I think there is some problem. Okay, I think there is some problem with the other end user. Please check it. Okay. So, if I am giving 0, what is going to happen in an AND gate? In an AND gate, one end of the input is 0, then obviously it is going to be 0, which means the clock is being suppressed from transmitting from this point to this point. Further on, the clock has been disabled. So, wherever I want to disable the clock, you can give the control signal equal to 0. If I want to enable the clock, keep the control equal to 1. In an AND gate, you know very well, if you make one of your terminal to be 1 and the other terminal to be the X, the output will be X. So it will simply transfer the clock signal to the output if I make control signal to be 1. So with this idea only, people come up with this technique to reduce the power, that is clock gating technique. It is good in the angle of power consumption reduction, but it is bad with respect to testing. That's what I said. You have multiple trade-offs. How do you say it is bad or it's not a good idea to go with clock gating? Or completely you need to remove the clock gating while you go for testing? The reason is simple. Say suppose you are giving this control line or any input is being given over here. Now the clock is not freely given to all D flip-flop. So whenever you would like to bring the clock to the, whenever you would like to bring the D flip-flop to the known state, it may not be possible. Why? Because the clock depends upon one more signal, what you call it as a control signal or your input signal. Now the clock is not free. So definitely the clock signal is a dependent factor with one more signal, that is your input or a control line. So you don't have any authoritative control on the clock. That is the reason for testing, because for testing, I need to have a typical control on the clock, because whenever I want to clock it and make my flip-flop output to a known state, it should be within my control. I should not depend on what is the input value, when I can enable the clock. Those sort of things should not be done. So in this context only, we say the clocked, wherever you have gated clocks, that should be avoided. That's what it is said here. Avoid gated clocks. Means if you have a CUT, circuit under test, and you want to test this, what you can do is give the input to this, and you will get the response, and the response will be compared. That machine name is ATE, automatic testing chip. But the problem with that machine is it's a pretty costly engine. Even the topmost semiconductor companies, they don't own this ATE. Instead, they hire this for hours together. So the point is, such a very costly ATE machine has some specifications. Say it will accept a tri-state, it may not accept a tri-state, it may, so it has some sort of requirement. So while you make your design, keep the ATE into your consideration, because you are going to pause for testing with that particular ATE requirement. So take that requirement into picture and make your design. So these are the conditions. Ad hoc techniques, basically when you keep some rules based upon some experts, then definitely the problem is if the expert is not available, you will be a handicap. So always this expert based mechanism will have a drawback of all this. All the other things are so. I'm just quickly moving ahead. The next well-known technique is scan, design, and rules. This is a very structured technique, which we discussed earlier. That is, you need to replace all flip-flop by scan flip-flop. Scan flip-flop. That's what we are trying to do. And you need to have extra one more line, what you call it as test control line. Test control line, which is facilitating the testing process. And what about ATPG? ATPG is automatic test pattern generation, which is used for generating the test vectors. Now let us see. Simple. This is the scan flip-flop. The picture which has been demonstrated here is a scan flip. Now let's try to analyze what is this change in the D flip-flop. Up to this point, I believe you would have come across this. This is nothing but your master slave D flip-flop. Got it? So this is my master, this is going to be the slave in a D flip-flop. D is your input, directly this point is your input, and of course this is your clock. So how does the system works? So whenever you have your clock has a transition from 0 to 1 transition, the data of this D will be captured to Q. Exactly at the point of transition of the clock, whatever there in D, say this is my D, right? Whatever there in D will be captured during this exact time instant, and it will be given to Q. So that's the basic principle. How does it works? How normal D flip-flop works. So I am taking a normal D flip-flop, and we are trying to add one small portion to that. Now this portion is something like this, a small mux. What is this mux consist of? Simple 2 AND gate, 1 NOT gate, 1 NOR gate. Now what are you trying to do with that? Simple, you have kept the D signal as it is. This is my D input. One more, select enable. This is select input, right? Scan input, sorry, scan input, scan enable. So you are having scan enable, scan input, and the output of this mux is being fed to the point where you usually give a deal. Okay. Now the question is, what are you going to achieve out of this? Very simple. Now, a general D flip-flop will work as it is. Now the problem that we said in the earlier cases, it is difficult to bring to the known state. To make that as initializable, what I'm trying to do, I am trying to include one extra logic to this particular D flip-flop. This logic is nothing but a simple mux. Now let's see how does it works. Let me make SC, that is scan enable, to be 0. If I make 0, then what's going to happen? This line will become 0, which means it will not take the value of D. Rather, this line will become 1. So in an AND gate, one line is 1, then the other line is nothing but, the output is nothing but the other line input. Got it? So this SI will be passed as your output here, which means you will be getting the scan input here. So this scan input will be passed on to this network. Or what I'm trying to say is, if you put scan enable equal to 0, this is the negative logic, right? So that's the reason. If you put scan enable to be 0, what happens is this flip-flop works in scan mode. Scan mode. What do you mean by scan mode? Whatever value I give it as an input for scan in, that value is going to be fed into this particular D flop. After one clock cycle, this scan input, whatever value which I have given here, that will be available in the queue. Simple. Now it is very clear that I am making the output of a D flip-flop to a known state. Right. What would happen the other way? Remember, this scan input can be kept at your primary input. When I make scan enable equal to 1, then this will get disabled. This D will get on. So you will be feeding only the D value, which will be working as a normal flip-flop. So when scan enable equal to 1, it is going to work as your normal D flip-flop. When scan enable equal to 0, it is going to work as a scan chain, which means the required value, whichever I wish to pump in, can be given through scan input and it could be chained up. That's the beauty of this scan chain, or what you call it as scan flip-flop. Now, what is the overhead? The overhead is 2 AND gate, 1 OR gate, and 1 NOT gate. So this many amount of extra gates need to be included in the scan flip-flop, in your normal flip-flop, to make that as a scan flip. So what are the disadvantages? Definitely this is going to have an area overhead. Again, in the critical path, the data travel from here, you have only this to be the critical path. If the data travel from here, you have extra 2 more gate to be on the line of the critical path, right? And one more, you are going to add up one more pin in the output, in the input. So it adds to extra input pin, extra critical path, which reduces the speed, extra area. And it also reduces the reliability, since because you have included more amount of logic, which is not contributing for the functionality. So in spite of all this disadvantages, we still go with what you call it as this mode, that is going for scan chain only to test sequential. Got it? That's how it works. You can look at here. So it's nothing but a sequential network. This is the combo logic. These are the memories which is usually represented here. We have, for convenience, we have pushed it to this side. Now all flip-flops have been replaced by scan flip-flop. You could notice here, all this becomes scan flip-flop. So this is my scan enable line. This is my scan input line. Now, can you notice one thing? See, scan input line is coming like here for the first clock cycle. Of course, clock is not shown here for the simple reason it becomes too much of clumsy. For all the flip-flop, you have a clock. So for the first clock cycle, this scan chain value will be moving to this one. Second clock cycle, it will move to this one. Third clock cycle, it will move out. So after 3 clock cycle, you could see the value which I have fed into scan in will be available in the scan out. And you could see all the three values you can tap at the end of 3 flip-flop and check whether all flip-flops are working fine. This is called a scan chain. Means you are chaining them as a shift register in order to make sure all the flip-flops are working fine and bringing that flip-flop to a known state, thereby converting the sequential network to a combinational network and apply all ATPG algorithms. That's all. So in fact, a few more analysis has been made on this. Like what are the trade-offs? Means what are the extra trade-off, disadvantages while I go for this scan chain. Obviously, as I said, the scan length will increase by n scan flip-flop plus 4. Plus 4 is for testing all possible transition. Means, see, look at here. If I give a test data, something like this, in fact, this is the way you need to give the test data. Why it is so? Look at here. You could see there will be a change in the power consumption when a data switch from 0 to 1, 1 to 0, 0 to 0, or 1 to 1. 1 to 1. In order to facilitate all these 4 methods of data transition, if I want to test this, I need to give appropriate test input which will go through all possible 4 transition. Now look at this picture. In this, you look at the first one, 0 to 0 transition, then 0 to 1 transition, 1 to 1 transition, 1 to 0 transition. Can you see? So you could see all 4 transition could be possible. That could be fed to all D flip-flops to test them. So you need to feed in this 4 test vector. That is the reason you have this NSS plus 4. This 4 clock cycle is to pump in 4 different transition of the test data as your input. Right. So the overall scan sequence length, the sequence length is how many clock cycle to test. That will increase to n combo logic plus 2 times NSF plus combo logic, n time n clock cycle for combo logic, plus 4 is for testing the flip-flops for all possible transition. Of course, you can derive all this, but for the want of time, I'm not doing that. You can derive and illustrate how do you get this. But time being, let's assume that it is granted, and you could see here this much amount of clock cycle, extra clock cycle is being required while you go for a scan flip-flop based design in order to test that network. Then what are the other overheads? You have gate overhead. What is that gate overhead? Gate overhead is given by 4 into NSF. What is this 4 into NSF? See, for every flip-flop, we are going to include 1 mux. In a mux, there are extra consumption of 2 AND gate, 1 OR gate, 1 NOT gate. So 4 number of NOT gates. So if I'm using 10 scan flip-flop, 4 into 10, 40 number of extra gate is being required. Got it? So that's how it is being represented. N SSF, SFF divided by NG is the number of gates in the combination logic plus 10S, 10N FF. What is this 10N FF? It is nothing but total number of gates required for a normal flip-flop. Got it? So 5 will be for master, 5 will be for the slave. So an area overhead, you could see roughly around 6.7% will be there because of converting normal flip-flop to a scan flip. And one more, timing, yes, you will having a timing overhead, timing performance overhead, because two number of gate will lie in the mux, which is going to be an extra additional critical path delay, right? So all this really makes the extra overhead with respect to DFT techniques. Got it? Yes. All the other things I'm just skipping it out. Maybe if you are interested, you can go through the books. Right. I'm just moving ahead. In fact, there are some papers which has focused in this way also. Instead of going with full scan, they come up with some other technique, what do you call it, as a partial scan technique. What is this partial scan technique? Very simple. We have seen that there will be a overhead with respect to area, power, timing, everything, while I try to replace a flip-flop with a scan flip-flop. Instead, I judicially make an appropriate choice to retain certain flip-flop as a normal flip-flop, certain flip-flop to be changed as a scan flip-flop, right? So whichever difficult to control, those alone has been identified, and that has been converted to a scan flip-flop, which facilitate the testing process. Got my point? So that it has been published as a paper. If you are interested, you may go through that paper in the Google IEEE